Are you a Canadian business with more than $100,000 in sales to the USA? You could be liable to collect and pay the US sales tax right now. That's not the worst part. If you don't collect it from your customers, you could be asked to pay out of your own pocket. I'm Sal, a CPA in Toronto focusing on helping Canadian businesses with US customers to reduce their tax burden and avoid double taxation. Today we'll discuss when do you actually need to collect US sales tax, how to simplify sales tax collection and payment, along with a free tool I use to check which states do you meet sales tax obligations in and where are you safe. Let's get into it. The US sales tax is not as straightforward as our HST system here in Canada. The US is a wild west with no US national sales tax. There's 50 states, each with their own rules and their own rates. So the big question is, when do I get pulled in? So to explain that, we will break down and simplify US sales tax basics, talking about terms like economic nexus, physical nexus, and also talk about different marketplaces and how that impacts you. We'll also talk about the common mistakes and where to get help from. So getting into it, you are required to collect sales tax if you meet any of the following thresholds. Number one, physical nexus. So if you're operating on their soil, you are required to collect sales tax. For Canadian businesses, it's a very common trap that they think that because they don't have any warehouse, any office or employees in the US, they're not required to pay or collect sales tax. That's fine and that's true for income tax because the US-Canada tax treaty says that if you're operating out of Canada, you don't have to pay income tax to the United States. However, this does not apply to sales tax. If you have your inventory sitting at a US warehouse, or if you have an office in the United States, or if you've got an employee in the United States, you have to register for sales tax if you meet the threshold for that state. Now, the threshold for each state is usually that even if the warehouse is not your own, it's a third-party logistics, a 3PL, but if your inventory is there, then you have physical presence in their soil in that state, and you have to register for state sales tax. You might be surprised to know that even Amazon FBA counts in this. But the good thing is Amazon does all that for you, so you don't have to take any of the headache. For Shopify store owners, this is not done automatically. So you need to do this all manually or turn on Shopify tax. I've got a separate video on Shopify store owners and sales tax for them, and that's over here. And I also asked my team to put it at the end of the video. So if you're selling a software as a service, a SaaS product, or any other digital product, about half of the states tax that as well. So you want to make sure that the states you have sales in, what rules apply over there. For example, Texas treats it as data processing, California really isn't that as picky, and so many other states have their own different set of rules. So that's physical nexus, being physically on their soil, having your inventory there, or you're even selling a SaaS or a digital product, you could be required to collect and pay sales tax. So that is physical nexus. The second thing you should know about is called economic nexus. Economic nexus is something very recent and has changed the game completely and made life so much difficult for Canadians who are selling to the US. Up until 2019 or 2018, you were not required to collect and pay sales tax just based on sales volume to a certain state. However, in 2018, there was a legal case between the state of South Dakota and the company Wayfair. The judges ruled that based on sales volume alone, you're required to collect sales tax. So states can ask you to collect sales tax and pay it to them based on their threshold. So for example, a lot of states have just $100,000 as their threshold, which means if you've got sales of more than $100,000 in that state, you are required to do sales tax registration, collect that sales tax and pay it to their government. And that applies even if you don't have any physical presence there. So if you're sitting here in Canada and you're shipping something or you're selling a digital product to a certain state, but you have more than $100,000 in sales in that single state, you are required to register and collect sales tax. The only states that have a higher threshold are California, New York, and Texas, which have a $500,000 threshold. Most of the states have just $100,000 as their threshold for sales tax. So let's talk about marketplaces. Platforms like Amazon, Etsy handle all of that for you, so you don't have to do much or anything at all. With Shopify, they've given you tools, but you're still responsible for your own website, and you have to turn Shopify tax on, and you have to make sure that it's being done correctly and it is more hands-on. One of my clients had a Shopify store from Canada and he was selling clothing in the US for years, and they never registered for sales tax. Thankfully, they came to us and we helped them register ASAP. So make sure that you are not in one of those thresholds. After helping them, I made a video to make sure that this does not happen to any of you folks. I'm putting that over here so you can check it out specifically for Shopify store owners. Now, if you do happen to meet any of these thresholds, here's what you should do. If you are, here is the step-by-step guide on what to do. So number one, you have to assess your Nexus in each state. I've actually put a spreadsheet that I use, I've put it in the description, and I made it for you guys just to help you easily check the thresholds in each state. You literally need to go in, put your sales in each state, and it will tell you if you have to register or if you're below the threshold. So head to the description and grab that by all means. So once you've assessed that you meet threshold in certain states, you need to get a US employer identification number. You can get it for free from the IRS just by calling them. If you want to know how to do that, I showed that in this video. And now, once you've done that, you have to actually register in all the states where you meet the threshold. If you're using a tool like Avalara, TaxJar, or even Shopify Tax, they really help you with that and automate a lot of that. But do remember that you need to be still checking those and staying on top of it. One more thing. If you think that in one of the years your sales dips below the threshold or even goes to zero, you still need to file a return. Even if it's a zero return, there are penalties for doing this. For example, Texas has a $60 penalty. Other states might have higher or lower, depending on them. You want to check your states out and make sure that you're not being penalized for any of these. Step 4 is to collect the right amount of sales tax, and this will be based on the buyer's address. So when they check out on your website, when they put their zip code, it's going to automatically calculate the sales tax if you're using Shopify or if your website is already linked to one of these tools. So step 5 is that you need to file and remit your sales tax every month or quarter or every year. Just make sure that you're on top of your sales tax frequency for the payment and the filing. Payments can be made via ECH in the United States or via wire transfer. Step 6, you have to keep records for 6 years because the states can come back for 6 years and audit you. If you have tools like TaxJar, Avalara, Numeral, or Shopify Tax, they really help you with that. But if you're not using them, which I do not recommend, you want to make sure that you have these records for 6 years. Let's talk about the common pitfalls now. So as Canadians, some things that really get us caught in penalties and interest is number one, thinking that you're not too large enough to actually register for them, which is why you have my spreadsheet. You can go in, check your thresholds, and apply. The other thing is to make sure that when you have tools, you want to make sure that you are on top of them and you're not thinking that they're automatically doing everything. If there is a kink, which does happen with these tools, sometimes even Shopify Tax, it can be making you liable for sales tax, penalties, and interest. So let's do a quick recap. Number one, you should check if you're meeting the Nexus in any of the states based on economic or physical triggers. You should check your sales tax registration thresholds and apply ASAP. Use my spreadsheet in the description below if you want it to help you out. And once you've done this, you do also want to make sure that you do not have income tax filing requirements in the United States. And if you want to have a conversation on that, my team would love to help you out. Just head to salaccounting.ca and they'd be happy to give you a free consultation to help you with your US tax obligations as a Canadian. Now, if this video helped you avoid a tax headache, subscribe for more US-Canada tax tips, and I'll speak to you in the next video.